Something in the deep thinks like nothing else on Earth. It unscrews shells, slips through locks, and solves puzzles humans designed. Meet the giant Pacific octopus, a brain wrapped in muscle and intent. The question driving us: how can an alien-brained cephalopod solve problems and escape prisons? Today, we trace the biology and behavior that turns Enteroctopus dofleini into a living riddle. This is not cute intelligence. It's cold, improvisational, mechanical cunning. A creature that manipulates objects with 8 flexible arms and a nervous system spread like a net across its body. Divers have watched them open jars, remember routes, and dart through tiny gaps. Each episode feels like a jailbreak staged by an animal born to invent escape. We will dissect that cunning: anatomy, neurons, senses, tactics, social life, mating extremes, and ecological consequences. Every detail ties back to the single odd fact: they think and they act. Call it sinister or sublime. Call it alien-brained. But strip the drama, and what remains is evolution engineering a problem solver. Muscles as minds, suckers as fingers, curiosity as survival. To understand escape artists, we must first understand their bodies. Every arm, every neuron, every pigment cell is a tool tuned by pressure, hunger, and the constant risk of death. Enteroctopus dofleini lives in cold North Pacific waters, where food is scarce and shelter is precious. Intelligence here is not luxury. It is a razor-sharp survival strategy. The stories of jar-opening octopuses are not anomalies. They are repeated experiments in flexibility and problem-solving. Each escape teaches us about a nervous system radically distributed across flesh. By the end, you'll see why prison is a joke to this animal, and why its intelligence forces us to rethink cognition. This is the biology of improvisation and obsession. An octopus is mostly arms. The giant Pacific octopus has 8, each lined with hundreds of suckers that taste, feel, and grasp. Those arms are flexible laboratories of touch and memory. Under its skin sits a central brain around the esophagus, but 2/3 of its neurons live in ganglia inside the arms. Each limb can act semi-independently, like an extra mind. Suckers are not mere cups. They contain chemoreceptors and mechanoreceptors. An octopus can taste a crab by touch, evaluate its texture and chemistry, and decide the best way to manipulate it. Muscles in the arms operate without skeletal support, controlled by precise neural patterns. This hydrostatic finesse lets them squeeze through gaps, mold around objects, and pry open shells. Eyes rival vertebrate camera eyes in sophistication. They detect contrast and motion with brutal efficiency. Combined with tactile memory, vision makes them expert problem solvers and hunters. Their skin hosts chromatophores, pigment cells controlled by muscles and nerves. Octopuses paint themselves, communicate mood, and perform camouflage that can erase their outline in seconds. Ink is a last resort. It clouds the water with melanin and mucus, confusing predators while the octopus slips away. Ink also contains chemical alarm signals for fellow cephalopods. The circulatory system uses 3 hearts, 2 branchial hearts for the gills, and 1 systemic heart pumping oxygenated blood. Their blood uses copper-rich hemocyanin, ideal for cold, low-oxygen seas. What looks like a limp arm is a sensor and a thinker. Call it semi-autonomous. It can explore a crevice, taste, and return with a decision, without consulting the central brain for every move. That decentralized control is key to their escapes. While the central brain plans, the arms improvise. Limits imposed by skeletons don't exist for them. They invent new body shapes on the fly. Neurons in octopus arms can learn simple associative tasks. Train one arm, and behaviors persist. Memory is distributed and plastic. It's not one mind, but an orchestra of semi-autonomous players. Their brains show large lobes dedicated to touch and learning. Studies reveal problem-solving, maze navigation, and even short-term memory. This is cognition, sculpted by a dangerous, curious life. Sensory integration is brutal and efficient. Sight, touch, taste come together faster than in many vertebrates. That fusion produces rapid decisions in hunting and escape sequences. Biochemically, octopus neurons use the same basic neurotransmitters as mammals, but wired in radically different circuits. Convergent solutions to intelligence arise from very different blueprints. Enteroctopus dofleini grows large. Some exceed 15 kilograms, giving it the brute strength to pry, the reach to explore, and the endurance to outlast attackers or boredom in captivity. Their beak is a parrot-like crusher, shearing through crab armor. It's a lethal tool, fed by arms that coordinate like surgeons, delivering prey into the mouth with cold precision. Chemoreception across the skin and in suckers creates a map of the world made of flavor and texture. They don't just see an object, they ingest its qualities through touch. Sensory redundancy makes them hard to fool. Break an arm, and others compensate. Block vision, and they rely on tactile memory. Their resilience is both mechanical and neural. The nervous system also supports rapid decision shifts, ambush to flight in a heartbeat. That flexibility explains why a trapped octopus can improvise a new escape in minutes. Octopus cognition is embodied. Intelligence emerges from the interaction of brain, arms, and environment. Solving a puzzle is as much a bodily activity as a mental one. Researchers have shown problem-solving persists after temporary lesions, suggesting multiple memory stores. Behavior is distributed and stubborn. Octopuses remember routes and tricks for days or weeks. Their short lifespans, often 3 to 5 years, contrast with intense learning. They cram a lifetime of experimentation into months, a compressed urgency that pushes inventiveness. The octopus brain shows neuroplasticity. New experiences reshape circuits. Each escape attempt refines motor patterns and sensory expectations, improving future improvisations. When captive octopuses open jars or disassemble toys, they reveal cognitive building blocks: curiosity, trial and error learning, and the ability to transfer skills across contexts. In short, Enteroctopus dofleini is a biological hacker, hardware of muscle and sucker, software of distributed neurons, running algorithms of touch, memory, and relentless experimentation. Hunting is a choreography of stealth and violence. An octopus stalks, probes, and then erupts, arms wrapping, beak biting. Prey doesn't just die, it's unmade by cunning and pressure. They excavate dens, dragging shells and stones to barricade entrances. These lairs are both workshop and prison, places to hide, to store food, and to practice manipulative feats. Octopuses show object use: coconut shells, discarded shells, or debris assembled as shields. They carry shelters, demonstrating foresight and planning uncommon in invertebrates. Escape is ritualized. Given a barrier, they test seams, probe latches, and use suction to pull. If a lock resists, they'll keep trying with incremental adjustments until it yields. In labs, giant Pacific octopuses have unscrewed lids and opened boxes. They experiment with sequences, rotate, pull, press, displaying patience and motor planning that looks eerily intentional. Their curiosity leads to trouble. Exploring fishing traps, entering cages. Captive aquariums report octopuses learning staff routines and timing escapes for moments of distraction. Arms specialize. One probes small crevices, another manipulates heavy objects. This division of labor emerges from experience, not fixed roles, showing behavioral flexibility and individual preference. They use jet propulsion to slip away, but prefer stealth. Sudden jet bursts consume energy. Conservation pushes them to innovate subtle routes and use camouflage instead. Some octopuses hunt cooperatively with other species, like moray eels. They coordinate attacks, flushing prey from crevices. Collaboration here is tactical, not social bonding. When faced with novel barriers, octopuses run micro-experiments, slightly altering tactics until success. Their trial and error loops are quick, almost surgical in refinement. They memorize human faces and routines in captivity, mapping opportunity to reward. Intelligence here becomes opportunistic cunning, learned behaviors targeted at predictable outcomes. Octopuses will test the structural weaknesses of tanks and ropes. Given wire mesh, they feel for loose connections and exploit them, gradually enlarging an exit until they slip free. They display play-like behavior, repeatedly releasing objects into currents, balancing shells, and manipulating toys. Play sharpens motor skills and fosters inventive problem-solving. Learning transfers across tasks. An octopus that unscrewed a jar can later open a latch with the same pattern of movements, revealing abstracted skill rather than simple mimicry. When trapped in a den, some octopuses force-feed or hoard prey to sustain long watches. Hoarding is a calculated buffer against scarcity and a hedge for future risk. They use deception, shape displays of color and arm posture to appear larger or to mimic backgrounds. Such illusion buys time or lures curious prey into reach. Predator-prey interactions refine their ingenuity. Attacked repeatedly, populations evolve warier individuals who test and refine escape tactics across generations. Their capacity for innovation makes them ecosystem engineers. By moving shells and altering substrate, they reshape local habitats, unintentionally creating micro-havens for other species. Escape is often a social performance. In aquarium tanks, one octopus learns by watching another pry at a lid. Observational learning suggests social pressures sculpt their cunning. They are opportunistic kleptoparasites, stealing clams or bait. An octopus may loiter near a trap and learn how to remove catches without triggering the mechanism. Rapid decision-making is a hallmark. Faced with choice, they evaluate tactile and visual cues and commit to strategies with terrifying speed and low hesitation. Their exploratory drive borders on obsession. They will return to unsolved puzzles repeatedly, refining technique until reward. A behavior that looks disturbingly like persistence in the face of frustration. In natural encounters, they pry open bivalves by applying pressure and levering the shells apart. They exploit mechanical weaknesses, turning brute force into mechanical insight. Escape from captivity often involves timing staff routines, slipping through filters, and even entering drainage systems. These are not accidents, but planned departures, sometimes taking hours of effort. Every behavior folds back into the question, how does an octopus think? The answer lies in a body that computes. Intelligence distributed through flesh, experience, and relentless curiosity. Are they solitary monsters or social strategists? Mostly solitary, yes, but encounters ignite violent dances, arm tearing, color changes, and cannibalism in moments of desperation or mating. Territorial fights are brutal. An octopus defends dens with tears and bites. Limbs become weapons. Skin flushes to frighten, and the loser often pays with scars or death. They practice avoidance diplomacy, displays of color and posture to settle disputes before violence. These signals are nuanced, a language of threat and concession in cephalopod terms. Cannibalism is a harsh reality. When food is scarce, larger octopuses consume smaller ones, collapsing social boundaries into a practical solution. Survival first, companionship never guaranteed. Males court females with color changes and arm displays. Courtship can be swift or prolonged, yet intimacy often ends in aggression or indifference before death claims its due. Juveniles disperse widely, reducing cannibalism risk. They survive as drifters, learning hunting and escape techniques by sampling environments. Each experience a brutal lesson in risk management. Predators include seals, sharks, and large fish. Against them, the octopus uses camouflage, sudden jets, and ink. If cornered, it may sacrifice an arm to escape and regenerate it later. Regeneration is efficient, but costly. Growing an arm demands energy and time. During regrowth, they may be weaker, less able to hunt, and more likely to be preyed upon. Interactions with humans are stark. Fishermen sometimes prize them as food. Aquariums display their cunning, and scientists test their problem-solving, often exposing ethics around captivity. In the wild, the octopus's relationships are pragmatic. Cooperation exists when advantageous, but mostly they are solitary engineers of their own survival, wary of any creature that approaches. Observational learning in the field is rare, but possible. Young octopuses may copy techniques gleaned from neighbors, accelerating skill acquisition in dangerous environments. Territorial boundaries create a patchwork seascape. Each den is a tactical base, stocked and defended, a small fortress from which the octopus launches hunts and experiments. When resources concentrate, confrontations spike. The brutal logic of ecology turns intelligence into a weapon, and sociality into a transient truce mediated by food availability. Intraspecific conflict can select for cleverness. Individuals who outthink rivals secure better dens and mates. Intelligence becomes both survival tool and competitive edge. Ultimately, their social world is sparse and violent, punctuated by fleeting encounters where cognition tips the scale between life and death, mate and meal. Reproduction is high stakes and tragic. Females lay thousands of eggs and guard them obsessively, refusing to eat. The maternal vigil is absolute, until she wastes away and dies after hatching. Males die soon after mating too. Their reproductive strategy is semiparous: reproduce once, invest everything, then perish. Life compressed into a single, fatal effort. Eggs develop slowly in cold waters, often months long. The female aerates them, cleans them, and fends off predators. Her body becomes a nursery, and then an empty shell. Hatchlings emerge as tiny replicas, planktonic drifters carried by currents. Most die hungry, eaten by fish or filtered out. Only a few survive to learn the deadly school of life. Growth is rapid when food is plentiful. Muscles, arms, and neural tissue expand, calibrating new behaviors. A juvenile's learning curve is steep. Each mistake may be the last. Females sometimes cannibalize errant males or juveniles in the den. Parenthood in octopuses is selective and brutal. Protection for eggs can coexist with predation on young visitors. Mating involves a hectocotylus, a modified arm males use to transfer sperm packets. That arm's function is mechanical and intimate, a literal extension of reproduction machinery. The life cycle arc, birth, frantic growth, a single reproductive act, and death, creates evolutionary pressure for rapid learning and risky experimentation throughout life. Because adults die soon after breeding, knowledge isn't passed across generations via parents. Instead, selection favors individuals who can learn quickly and innovate on their own. That brutal life history explains urgency. An octopus must master its world quickly or perish. Intelligence is a sprint, not a marathon sharpened by mortality's clock. Ecologically, giant Pacific octopuses regulate benthic communities by preying on crabs, clams, and fish. Their hunting shifts population structures, creating cascading effects through the food web. As predators, they keep prey populations in check and create space for other species. Their dens generate habitat complexity, promoting biodiversity in an otherwise uniform seafloor. If octopus numbers rise, they can decimate local bivalve beds, altering sediment dynamics and nutrient cycles. If they vanish, prey species may explode, collapsing local balance. They also serve as prey for larger predators, transmitting energy up the chain. Their ephemeral yet intense lives are a conduit of biomass in cold coastal systems. Human exploitation matters. Fisheries harvest octopuses for food, sometimes removing key individuals that regulate local ecology. Management requires understanding their behavior and reproductive cycles. Climate change and warming seas alter prey availability and distribution. Octopus ranges shift, opening new predator-prey dynamics and unpredictable ecological consequences for coastal systems. Pollution and habitat destruction erode den sites. Without shelter, octopuses must travel more, increasing predation risk and reducing opportunities to learn and innovate safely. Their ability to alter habitats means their decline or boom reshapes entire communities. Conserving them is not nostalgia for oddity. It's preserving a keystone of benthic life. Research shows local extirpations create trophic cascades. Lose the octopus and crab populations surge, sediments shift, and ecosystems restructure in ways we might not easily reverse. Their cognitive edge also makes them adaptable to changing conditions. But adaptability has limits. Rapid, human-driven change may outpace even their notorious inventiveness. Watching an octopus unscrew a jar feels like watching a mind. It forces an ethical question. Does this intelligence merit moral consideration beyond utility on a plate? Captivity exposes their brilliance and their suffering. Tanks magnify their curiosity into stress. Escapes are not tricks, but desperate, intelligent bids for agency in confined lives. Our fascination masks responsibility. If they are problem solvers, they are also sentient beings facing habitat loss and exploitation. The horror is not alien. It is consequences of our choices. We began with a question. How can an octopus escape prison and solve puzzles? By distributing intelligence across flesh, by relentless curiosity, and by evolution pressing quick learning into survival. Enteroctopus dofleini forces us to reconsider cognition, ethics, and our role in fragile seas. It unscrews lids and opens minds. Now, the real test. Will we unscrew our habits for its survival?